Hi, kids. I was recently invited as a guest to the JDXL Show. JD is a good friend of mine. He's a DJ and he's a classically trained pianist, which makes for a very interesting mix to watch him live, to say the least. He's also one of the nicest guys I know. This video is a little bit different. I'm going to show the whole interview unedited. Watch the full thing as JD tries to learn more about writing songs for TV and film from me, which is his first mistake. If you'd like to tune into his show, it airs every Sunday night, and I will put links and times in the description below this video. Let's check it out.
Doing good, man. Thanks for coming on short notice with the show, man, but excited to talk about what you've been up to and talk about kind of the whole music world that no one seems to really know about except for you with the Music Sync. It's kind of like a hidden gem in the industry, and I know you're super versed in it. So yeah, man, what you've been up to as far as Music Sync and just everything that you do?
Just finished kind of like a mini album of swagger rock. If you've never heard of that, it's kind of like if blues rock had a baby with someone that had a lot of confidence.
Well,
I
look forward to listening to it, man. Sounds pretty sweet. I said I look forward to listening to that. It sounds pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, it's fun.
I'm all about the swagger, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can tell.
You watching the live right now, man? Do you feel like you're in the studio?
Well, I've just seen you walk down the street and just randomly punch people while you're walking.
Oh, dang, man! You don't tell them that on the air, man. That's don't let that get around,
You don't really, like, metaphorically with your looks. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay, cool. Metaphorically, everybody, don't be scared if you see me out and about. But yeah, man, I got to check this out. So you said swagger rock. So is it getting a placement for? Was it like specifically for a show or?
So this album is for a music library, and what they do is they kind of collect a genre of music. That way, when music supervisors come to them, they'll come to them and say, "Hey, give me all your swagger rock songs," which that's a funny sentence to say to anybody. But when they do that, they know that these libraries, that they have all the rights cleared. In the world of sync, that's one of the most important parts. They don't want to put a song into a show that has any kind of like copyright infringement involved. And that could come up if something like maybe you're using samples that you don't have the rights to use and stuff like that. So music supervisors come to trust these music libraries. They're kind of like agents for people that do the kind of music that I do. And they'll curate a whole album's worth of tracks. And then, so right now it's just in the beginning stages of getting the tracks live. And then people will start searching them. And it's a long game, but yeah, we'll get there.
Gotcha, man. So what would you say your biggest placement was that you're most proud of with doing the whole Music Sync thing?
Oddly enough, my first placement is still my favorite placement for so many reasons. Number one, just the fact that I had this burning desire to figure out how to get a song in a movie. And so when I finally got it, I got a song in The Bottom of the Night, is the name of the movie. And it was so cool to watch it on Amazon Prime and see that it was used how I've always envisioned it, which was in a bar coming out of a jukebox. So that was that's exactly how I pictured my music being utilized. And then to top it off, a friend of mine from San Francisco was flying to Nashville and didn't know that I had a song in this movie. And he plays bass, and we'd jammed together before at some shows. And so he's flying to Nashville, and we were going to meet up and hang out. And on the flight over, he rented or watched that movie, and then in the end credits saw my name, and his mind was blown. And so it was just so cool that he saw that, and so that's still one of my coolest placements for sure.
Well, my name's in every movie, but I didn't actually do the music. You ever seen John Powell pop up in any?
Oh yeah,
man, that guy does the soundtracks for probably a huge percentage of Hollywood blockbusters, and I've had my cousins reach out to me and they're like, "Is that you?" I'm like, "I wish."
That's funny.
I'm pretty sure you would know if that was me. I probably would have mentioned that at Thanksgiving get-togethers. Hey, by the way, I'm doing the Marvel soundtrack or whatever the situation, But yeah, so opposite over here, people see my name and I'm not actually doing the soundtrack. So maybe I'll get to your level one day and they see John Daniel Powell, and then John Powell will be reaching out and just be like, who is this guy? Because he's ruining my career because now people are calling me asking for him. It just makes his life difficult. There's a John Daniel Powell and a John Powell. It would be pretty fun.
Well, have you ever seen the movie The One?
The One? No, I don't think so.
So the way I was able to get ChasePerryman.com was I had to kill all the other Chase Perrymans to become the most famous. In the movie The One, it's like all your alter egos, you have to kill them to become the most powerful. Again, I don't know why I'm leaning on the violence in this interview, but there you go.
I was gonna say, is this another metaphorically, or did you actually?
Metaphorically speaking. Metaphorically speaking. I just had to, kill them with talent. I don't know.
Yes, you had to exactly. You had to like. It's kind of like the Swagger had to punch them in the face and just knock them out of the entire industry.
To punch them in the face. That's right.
There you go, man. But yeah, so how did you even, like, honestly, man, until I went to the whole get-together we had for writing the music for that TV show that I guess you probably heard. I don't know if Bill's told you the show got picked up by Warner Brothers for that TV show, the baseball TV show.
Oh, man. That is so exciting, and I have some text messages to send now. So this is news to me, but I'm super stoked about that.
Maybe I just unveiled something I wasn't supposed to unveil, but whatever.
All right, you know what? I'll see Bill tomorrow, and I'll wait to send my text messages until I talk to him, just to be safe. But
okay.
No, that's super exciting.
You're making it over to Bill's Labor Day tomorrow?
Yeah, and his address is. No, I'm kidding.
It's a public event. Everybody, you can come out. He's probably tuned in right now. But yeah, man.
He's like, no, guys, don't say it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the show seems like it's gonna be, on HBO at some point. I'm sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
That release is gonna be super far away. You know how that goes. But
sure.
Either way, the track. I think. Did you make a track with a group? I can't remember if you made a track.
I did not. I was just the mentor this time.
Gotcha. So you're basically the mentor, and then you're like, well, crap, I would like to have made a track for that, considering it's going to be on HBO.
Hey, honestly, if I can help anybody else get their song placed and have that cool feeling, then I'm happy. I'm happy.
There you go, man. But yeah, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I was going to say, man, until you brought up the whole music sync thing, I'd never actually had heard of it until that whole get-together. So how did you kind of find out about it and get into it?
Oh, man, it was... It wasn't an easy path to find. I've joked, and there's not many people that would get this joke at all, maybe I don't know, 0.01% of your listeners. But it was kind of like the game Elden Ring, where there's no clear path, and there's it's basically a video game where they don't give you any directions, and so you're just wandering around. That's kind of how it was for me at first, and I'd had a deal I had a record deal for a little while, and that fell through. And then I was playing a bunch of shows, and I don't know, then the band broke up, and I just kind of felt like there was something more I was supposed to be doing with my music. And then I was just watching TV one day and heard a song in the background. It was the first time that it really clicked with me, because I get this all the time when I tell people I write songs for TV and film. They always go, oh, you do jingles. And I'm like, what is this, 1990? When have you heard a jingle? When's the last, people don't really do jingles anymore for TV shows or commercials, But that's kind of I wasn't really paying attention, but all of a sudden I was listening to this song that was in the background of a show, and I was like, that's a song with lyrics, and that's a song very similar to the style of songs that I write. How in the world did they do this? And so just first of all, being aware, that it was a thing, helped me, and then I knew a lot of different musicians in Nashville, and one in particular that you might know too, or you might have even had him on the show, is John Salloway. He's doing some pretty big things right now in Nashville.
Yeah, that's wow, small world, man. I didn't even know you knew that guy. He actually is the music director at a really popular, basically live event center. In fact, during COVID, it was the largest open outside event center during 2020. But it's funny story, a mile from my house. It's right down the street. It's kind of in the outskirts of Murfreesboro, but I think he's kind of doing that part-time now. But we actually had him on the show back, I guess, probably at the beginning of 2020, when he had a track that was #1 on the independent charts, radio charts, across, I guess, really across the U.S., I guess, because I know there's obviously different radio alliances in the UK and different places. They have the Indie Radio Alliance, but his was #1, I think, it might have been out of all the independent radio alliance stations. So
he had to metaphorically punch everybody else in the face to do that, but yes.
Yeah, exactly. He punched everybody with his swagger. He's always got those fedoras on, man.
That's right.
There's power in that fedora.
Yeah, yeah, and John is John, if you're listening, you're not only a very attractive man, but you're very talented. No, he's a really cool dude, and what's funny is one of my jokes is how I met John is I had to own a restaurant. Actually, I owned a restaurant for a while, and you've been to part of it before, and I was always looking for. We had a stage, and I was always looking for musicians to book for the restaurant. And so I heard that there was this band that was really cool that was playing like across the street and out of my venue, and I ran over there, and the guy that was booking the band was John Salloway. And so I met him that way, but I also was able to get him to play some shows as well. Long story short, I finally felt like if anybody knows anything about music in general, it'd be John Salloway. And so I asked him about it. And, he actually got me connected with a group of producers in Nashville that met up once a month for a potluck. I mean, this story is just wild, and so I drove up to Nashville. No one there knew me, and I was nervous, and it was like, I don't know, like just this young, dumb kid, with like, I don't know, like a cheese tray, and everybody been in this world for a long time. I knew nothing about it, but it was really cool. We went into the studio that evening after having like some food and drink. We went into a basement studio, and everybody played tracks that they'd been writing for TV and film. And from that group of people, it really, like, I became friends with those people. And honestly, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here now. Like, they showed me the ropes. They showed me where to submit my songs. They explained the world of sync to me. It was like my side quest had finally paid off.
The side quest finally became part of the main quest. It's like a video game, and actually took you to the finish line, huh?
Yeah. So if you want to know how to get your songs to TV and film, buy a restaurant, meet John Salloway, and go to a super secretive potluck.
I can actually fast track you to John Salloway. In fact, let's just go ahead and public phone number on the air. We got Bill's address. Let's just go ahead and put John Salloway's phone number out there, and there you go.
Now, honestly, what's kind of become my mission since then, because it was such a mystery to me. That's one reason why here lately, I've got songwriting courses. I've really kind of leaned more towards teaching people about writing for TV and film. At first, when I started doing this, JD, I thought I could help people that wanted to get better at songwriting. But what I think I've found, the more I've gotten into this, is people are super interested that are already songwriters about, like, wait a minute, you had a song on a TV show? Tell me more about that. So, yeah, definitely, if you want a faster track than what I went through, that's one reason why I'm doing the courses, just to help people so they don't have to, running a restaurant's hard. And John Salloway's hard to get in touch. He's a busy man.
I was going to say, so let's do the fast track, the real fast track, and you can go, how do they find your course again?
Sure, that's fine. It's mysongtheory.com.
mysongtheory.com, man. I'll have to check it out myself.
Yeah.
It is pretty interesting stuff, and I know you already, obviously shouted it out at the event I was at, but, my mind was just blown that I had no idea what this was even about, and it's like a whole nother world out there that a lot of people are kind of wrapped up into, the streaming and the live shows and, obviously the softwares. There's so many different things you got to learn, and there's so many platforms always launching, so this was like a whole nother world out there that a lot of people don't know about, so it's pretty interesting stuff.
And for songwriters and musicians, one thing I say all the time is, people don't buy music anymore, but that's okay. The way we produce and consume music is always changing. Whenever like records came out, it killed the sheet music industry, for instance. So that like right now, I don't buy CDs. I just stream things on Spotify, and it takes a whole lot of streams to get any kind of money back from Spotify. But there is a place that they still buy music. It's just with TV and film. There are a lot of really great TV shows and films being created right now like never before on so many different platforms, and all of them are looking for great music. And a lot of these music supervisors, they actually want to work with unsigned, unknown artists because they like the idea of like breaking something new or finding something edgy or finding something a little bit different that no one else has heard before. So it really is a great way for a songwriter to be able to find a way to monetize what they do and also eventually get some more exposure, and then also develop a lot of skill sets because you have to work on a deadline, you have to work with a brief. There's a lot of other skills that come into play when you get into this world.
That's the funny thing too, is a lot of people always reach out to like the artist, by, Instagram or something like that. But a lot of times as artists, they've already got so many followers and so many fans messaging them that they never think to really like look at who's producing, who's engineering their tracks. That's another thing. We had a guy come on the show back in April, and he mixes for a lot of different people like Lil Nas X and Chris Brown and just different artists like that in the industry. And he said that a lot of the beats they select for those tracks are actually, he said they preferably like to use underground producers that aren't as big because there's not as much red tape. There's not as many legalities, with contracts with other labels or whatever the situation. They like to use people that are kind of freelance because then it's just like straight to the point, and they can get the copyrights really easy with that whole situation, and it probably saves them money in the long run as well. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, like the largest what I'm most known for in sync is the ability to reproduce 1960s soul music. And if you think about, guys like Marvin Gaye, especially with everything that happened, with that one song, like, it's pretty expensive to license him, and it's pretty cheap to license me. And yeah, I don't have, his fame, but if you're just trying to set a specific vibe in a scene, I'm definitely your poor man's Marvin Gaye.
All right. Noted, man. We're learning a lot about about all this stuff on the show tonight, man, for sure. And about you, metaphorically, there's a lot of different things out there that I didn't know, man. So I'm glad to had you on tonight.
Find out how violent I am with my swagger.
Exactly, man. And me too, apparently. I didn't realize that I was punching people. That actually enlightened me on why some people, maybe react that way to me. Those people that just don't like me for no reason, man, they're just getting hit in the gut, with my swagger.
All the swagger, yeah. Shoo.
I know, man. But yeah, no, so we're actually going to play here in a few minutes. We're going to play one of your tracks on the air that you sent me earlier, and I noticed your music, you've got Roman numerals for each album, so that to me shows me that you have that much music that you have to literally put Roman numerals on them to keep them straight, because you just got you're dropping so many albums. You just got to do like episode 1, episode 2, like Star Wars over here.
Well, yes and no. One of the main reasons I decided to do that is because the artist name I use for sync is so long that an album name would also make it like super long. So I use Chase Perryman and the People Familiar with the Situation. And so with a name that long, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to name these albums like 1, 2, 3, 4. Because you don't want like Chase Perryman and the People Familiar with the Situation, and then the album name, which is like Everything Blue. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's just too much. It's too much. And then also, I don't know, just creating an aesthetic.
I think you need to add another sentence to that, man. I think that People Familiar with the Situation, you just like keep it going, finish the story with that, and just fit it all on an album cover and just have it go down. You just have to read the whole thing like a book on the front of it.
What's funny is back when that was the band name, it was in a blues rock band, and I just kept that just because I think it's funny and it's interesting. But whenever we would play like a music festival, our band name would take up an entire one line. And I was like, oh, this is good, like marketing. You know what I mean? Like the lines before, they'd have like 4 or 5 bands side to side. Then ours would take up a whole line. And so we looked like a bigger deal because we had a whole line to ourselves, but we just had so many words in our name.
So people basically thought you were the headliner. You took up the whole flyer, and they had no choice but to put you on there.
And I'm sure, because I also do graphic design, I'm sure that graphic designers hated me.
Oh, 100% for sure, man. If your name was that long, I would have probably just, if I didn't have room on my flyer, I'd be like, sorry, dude, I just got to put Chase Perryman ...
Yeah, and the People ... Yeah, for sure.
And the People. But we're gonna go ahead and take a brief ad break. But before we do, we want to go ahead and jump into. Well, I guess we're gonna take the ads first, and then tune in for a second, everybody. We're gonna be playing his track after this. What was the first one you sent me? It was the '60s. It was something 60s, right? What's the name of that track?
I think it's Baby Come Back.
Baby Come Back. All right, yeah, that's the track we're going to play right after these ads. Chase Perryman, Baby Come Back, man. It's a fire track, dude. I remember the first time I heard you sing at like a get-together that Bill had in Nashville with a bunch of artists. I remember I was like tripping out on your voice, man. It catches you off guard, especially if you just hear you talk. And in fact, I just asked the producer in the studio, I was like, did you think his talking voice would sound like that when he sings? And he was like, no.
Yeah, I get that all the time, and I honestly kind of like it. I like it when people's expectations are really low before I do something.
Right. That's the way to really blow their minds, right?
That's right. Keep them super low.
That's the way to punch them in the gut with your swagger.
That's right. Yeah.
Or with your singing voice in this case. So.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, for sure, man. It kind of reminds me of actually like when I was a kid, who I thought was singing the Toy Story songs was not like whenever I saw who was actually singing the Toy Story tracks, I was like, that is not who I thought was singing it. You know, like he just didn't look like what I would expect would be singing those songs, you know?
You know, and that's kind of a good point for like something I really enjoy about writing for TV and film is no one knows what I look like. And because I'm not an artist and I'm not kind of put into a box where they expect me to look and sound a certain way, I kind of equate it more to being like a voice actor as opposed to an actor, where, you know, I get to do all kinds of different voices for The Simpsons, for instance. You know, where I can experiment with all kinds of things. And that's something I've also, depending on what kind of songwriter or musician you are, that's something personally that I find to be really fun. Is I think I sent you 4 tracks. Each one is a completely different genre. And even my voice can sound very different from song to song. And I think it's a very, like, if you're someone who's, like, super creative and likes to experiment, that's something that's super fun. And also, like, I can be successful in this industry and nobody even knows about it. I can still walk down the street and buy my groceries without the paparazzi bothering me.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, that's something you don't really think about. You always, like, want the success, but then, you know, not being able to just go with your friend to the restaurant to, you know, go get a drink without being pestered. I mean, that's something that's seriously, like, an issue for a lot of artists. Or, yeah, like you said, the paparazzi's stalking you when you make it to a certain level. That's why I kind of like the EDM industry a little bit. I feel like it's a little more laxed with, like, DJs. A lot of people don't really know what the DJs look like, you know, a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah, and they've got a lot of, like, I guess, like, what do you call that, like helmets and masks and all kinds of stuff. I
mean,
like
Deadmau5 and Marshmello, Daft Punk, you know, they all wear, you know, of course everybody would know what Skrillex is pretty unmistakable, but even, like, I don't know, I feel like, you know, for instance, Calvin Harris, if he was in Nashville walking around, I mean, is anyone really going to recognize Calvin Harris, or are they just going to think, oh, that guy kind of looks familiar? You know, oh, he kind of looks like Calvin Harris, and just not think, oh, Diplo or Calvin Harris are in Nashville hanging out.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Because, in fact, a lot of times Diplo, he's just got, I mean, you know, I know what he looks like. I follow his Instagram and stuff like that. I'm a pretty big fan of his producing. But, like, I mean, would you know Diplo if you saw him on the street, you know?
No, I wouldn't.
Exactly.
I wouldn't.
So it actually
I
happens
wouldn't even
to
know,
him.
like, yeah.
Yeah, it happens to him a lot at gigs. People don't, like, he'll post about it and he'll be like, so-and-so actually recognized me backstage this time. Like, he's actually had people try to, like, not let him into gigs to DJ because they didn't know what he actually looked like.
Oh, that's funny.
So he posts about it a lot. If someone actually remembers what he looks like, he's like, they actually remembered me this time. I didn't get thrown, you know, basically out of the gig.
That's funny.
Yeah. But, man, you got, like, any, I mean, I know it sounds like you were doing the Swagger Rocks album. Man,
Yeah.
how many albums do you have, first and foremost?
So I think I have about 6 albums out on Spotify. I think that's right. But then, you know, I work on a lot of music in the background, so there's a lot of songs that people can't see. So I probably have about 6 more albums worth of work just out there, again, getting pitched for TV and film. One thing that I tell people about this world is, like, you know, used to, before I started doing this, I might write an album a year. But when I'm really hot and heavy in the sync world, you know, I really need to be doing somewhere between 5 to 10 albums every single year.
Wow.
Just because it's a numbers game. And it's a little bit easier to do because you're, like, for me at least, I'm collaborating with people that are good at producing. So I'm good at singing and writing songs, and so I'll find people that are good at producing tracks. And so we'll work together, and what's great about that is I can work with, like, 5 different producers at one time. And so, you know, like, in a matter of no time, I've got 5 new albums, you know. So that's one way you can leverage that.
See, in my world, I basically have to write, record, and mix and everything. Of course, I do have a friend that's mixing my material now, but it's like, if I'm not putting in the work in the studio, it's just, you know, it's not, nothing's happening with it, you know, essentially. So that's pretty cool that you can kind of work with, like, 5 different producers and they all just kind of start popping off at the same time, and you can just focus on writing. It's kind of a well-oiled machine, it sounds like.
Yeah, it took me a while to kind of figure that out. I tried mixing and mastering and producing myself, and I know a little bit, you know, not enough to be dangerous, but at the end of the day, if there are people that are better at it and are passionate about it, let them do it, and we'll just split it. So, you know, if a song gets picked up, we split the writer share 50-50 on the royalties.
Well, that's kind of what I say, too, about, like, vocal presets and stuff like that. It's like, why take the time to basically spend all this time with, like, you know, mixing the vocals, adding plugins and different things to get the right sound whenever you can just start with a preset that already kind of, like, has you most of the way of where you're trying to get to. And, of course, you can do different presets and stuff. Like, I've got a bunch of different ones. I've got, like, Ed Sheeran's preset he uses from the studio. You can buy different famous people's presets, and it's just, like, already there for you, and then you want to add a couple extra plugins to, you know, maybe change it up a little bit, but it kind of already has it clean and audible and kind of where you want it to sit in the mix. But anyways,
smarter, not harder.
Exactly, man, exactly. So but we're actually out of time, man. I appreciate you calling in, and I guess I'll be seeing you, if I don't talk to you before then, I'll be seeing you in Florida, man. So
That sounds great. Thank you, JD.
Everybody have a good night.
The trucks in this town are so loud, they're always ruining my takes. If you enjoy this video, but you feel like you want to go a little deeper into the world of writing for TV and film, well, surprise, surprise, do I have a product for you? Tools for Television. How to break into songwriting for TV, film, and advertising. It's an ebook that complements this video series, and I have a few more resources in there to help you have a clear roadmap on where to get started today. If you want to get more of these songwriting tips and tricks, be sure to whack, wallop, smack, thwomp that like and subscribe. You know what? I'm not good at this. I'm not good at self-promotion. Don't even like and subscribe. I don't deserve your love. Bye-bye.